The root word of supplements means to add on. It's an addition. It's supplementing to what you're already doing. So the ideal scenario is you get all the macronutrients and micronutrients you need from your regular diet. And there was a time when because we weren't getting a lot of variety in our food, we were getting a lot of different sources of things, we were having trace elements as we were eating other things, so sort of like kind of hitching a ride on your food into your system. And I will probably get into that detail in the future. But to suffice to say is that supplements are sometimes, a lot of times necessary. And I wish that weren't the case, but it just happens to be that way based on a number of factors in modern life. So usually supplements that we're taking tend to be the micronutrients, things that we need in smaller doses, but still need a large amount of volume that we count it. But in some cases they're macronutrients, protein being probably the main example. But it is important that we're getting some of these supplements if we're not already getting them in the diet. They are important to help us out. They perform a number of really important functions. And I won't get into detail about vitamins and minerals and the macronutrients in the future, but where possible, like we're looking to try to get them from the diet as much as we can. But there are two issues with that because there's scenarios in which you're probably not getting enough. And the most common example where it comes to fat loss is that you need to be in a calorie deficit to lose body fat. And when you're in a deficit, that means you're taking in less stuff. And when you're taking in less stuff, the likelihood of you getting all the nutrients sometimes decreases. So in this instance, it might be extra necessary to take in some form of supplementation. And we'll get to that in just a moment. But the other scenario is, depending on your location, your lifestyle, a number of different factors, you might not be getting all the nutrients you need. And by lifestyle, I mean like if you're traveling a lot, if you're not eating enough, often enough, whatever it might be, location on the world. There's people in North America, example, for above the 40th parallel, there's an extra nutrient that we might need compared to people who live near closer to the equator, right? So here are the 4 supplements that everybody and anybody would benefit from. And I would argue to say that pretty much everyone should be taking these. Unless there's some specific scenario where you're being told you can't, or there's an allergy or something like that. But before I jump in that, I think that you do need to talk to your doctor. This is sort of a realm that I shouldn't like haphazardly make recommendations. For the general population, for most people, this is what you need. So talk to your doctor, have a blood test if needed, because sometimes you'll pick up on other micronutrients that you're short of and you might need to supplement for as well. Common one might be calcium, magnesium, iron. These are some of the more common ones. B12, the B complex vitamins. So there are scenarios where you might need to ingest some more of those supplements. But for the general population, for most people, you need 4. First one, probiotics. And this is really good for digestion, fat loss, energy, that sort of thing, because most people do not get enough fermented foods. This is where you would normally get the probiotics, and that's sometimes shows up in the yogurt, fermented foods, that kimchi, that sort of thing. It is possible to get through your diet, but for most people are not getting enough, so it is recommended that you sort of restore the bacteria in your gut. Very common for people who have antibiotics and that sort of thing. So this is probably the number one most important one, and the one I always suggest people to be on. The second probably being omega-3. And omega-3 is an unsaturated fat. I will talk about this more in detail in the future, but it is suffice to say that at some point we used to get about 3 omega-6s for every 2 omega-3s. And at this point, our ratios are way off. We're getting about 15 omega-6s for every 2 omega-3s that we're having. And the reason why that's important is because they create some form of balance. Omega-6 tends to be a little bit more pro-inflammatory, omega-3 anti-inflammatory. There's other benefits for it as well, but it's important that we're getting enough omega-3 to sort of balance out again, try to get that ratio a little bit closer to that 3:2 that we once enjoyed. But it's extra important that you're getting these from a marine-based source, because land-based omega-3s, with good amounts, is still helpful. It's not as bioavailable, and there's some arguments to really push towards marine-based omega-3s. And so that is my suggestion. And again, I will talk about that in the future as well. Number 3 is protein. Especially if you're in a calorie deficit, we really need to get more protein up to maintain muscle. And one of the ways that you're doing that without adding too many calories is to supplement with a protein powder or something similar. And the fourth one, very specific to people above the 40th parallel, we tend not to get enough vitamin D. Now, there is some variance with skin color as well. If you are darker, you probably need a little bit more vitamin D because you're not getting enough from the sun. Not to get too scientific with it, but skin color really sort of filters out the sun that would help you to build up more vitamin D in your body. So there is supplement guidelines based on where you're from in the world, skin tone, that sort of thing. But for most people and everybody living above the 40th parallel, you do need to supplement with the vitamin D. Now, another one that you often hear about is multivitamin. And multivitamin, I would look at that as an insurance policy, just to ensure that you're getting enough of the different minerals and vitamins. So is it necessary for everyone? No, but as people get older and people are not getting a full diet and all that sort of thing, traveling a lot, then maybe it becomes a little bit more important. But I would say that's more of an insurance policy than one of the 4 that you definitely absolutely need to have. Now, if you're ever unsure about a specific supplement like caffeine or magnesium or creatine, any of these things, I would suggest you go to examine.com. Very unbiased. They don't sell anything in terms of supplements. They don't recommend specific brands. They're there just to say, here's the science. There's strong science for this. There's sort of mid-range science for this, and there's really no support for that. They're really good at that, and they have come out with full out articles. You just search by the supplement you're thinking about or what you're having and you're not sure about, and it gives you all the information that you need. Now, in terms of over supplementing, when we just talked about the insurance policy, some vitamins and minerals are sort of water soluble and some are fat soluble. That means that some of them travel within the water in your blood and your body, and some of them travel within the fat in your body. Now, it's easy to overtake the fat soluble ones. They build up in your body fat, whereas the water, they tend to be expelled through your urine, your sweat, and all that stuff, right? So it's possible that you might be throwing away some supplement because you're just going right through your body. So that's why I say, talk to your doctor, get your blood tests, make sure that you actually need some of these supplements before you start to spend your hard-earned money on getting some more. And then my final point here is that fortunately or unfortunately, this industry, where it comes to supplements, is unregulated. It's unregulated because a lot of them are naturally occurring substances, and you don't want to regulate natural stuff. It's because you can get it anywhere. You're not looking to make it difficult for somebody to get it. But for that exact reason, there are people who are making supplements that don't really check that what's in it is actually what's being labeled. Maybe they're like getting it white labeled for somebody else. It's not always safe or the right amount. I think the real concern is the right amount. So find a trustworthy source. Definitely find something that's third-party tested, and that means they bring their supplement, they get it tested from a separate lab that says, yes, what's in this bottle is what is being said is on this bottle, and it's at these proportions. So I would say make sure you get it from a trusted source, make sure you do your research, make sure you get your blood test, but everybody and anybody can benefit from probiotics, omega-3s, protein, vitamin D. So here I am saying supplement your way to success.